Okay, good evening, everyone. We are here for a debate in Campionato Italiano Giovanile di Debate for Società Nazionale Debate Italia. This is round 5 bis, and we have two beautiful teams. On the prop side, we have Lombardia with Mosè Bianchi, and on the opposition side, we have Sardinia with Dettori team. Now I will call the speakers, and I please ask you to introduce yourself and tell us which role you are going to do for your team. I'm calling the proposition team. Please, who's going to be the first speaker?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mario Mancino. I'll be the first speaker of side proposition.
Okay, it's going to be the second one.
Good evening, I'm Sofia Goshen. I'll be second and reply.
Okay, the third one.
Good evening, my name is Giada Gambino.
Thank you, Giada. Let's go on the opposition side. Who's going to be the first speaking?
Me, Camilla Nappi.
Camilla Nappi. The second one.
Hi, I'm Beatrice Sedana. I will do the second speech and the reply.
Okay, so you're going to do with the iron person, isn't it? Okay, and so Camilla is going to deliver us the third speech.
Yes.
So, if everything is fine, I think we can start. I'm going to read the motion. Tonight we are going to debate on this regret motion. This House regrets the narrative that everything happens for a reason. So let's go. I'm calling the prop team. And please, Mario, take the floor.
Yeah, just a second, please.
Yes, tell us 3, 2, 1 when you start. And
So do I have to keep the bell ringing, or do I just... I mean, for the timer.
well, if you want, you can do by your own.
Yeah. So am I audible? Is everyone ready? Okay, so I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, everything happens for a reason, right? This is just a fact. If I drop my phone, it will fall. And if I cheat in this round, they will kick me out of the tournament. Now, from my speech, few things. First, some clarification on framework, and then I'm going to walk you through our first and second argumentation. Now, panel, the delta in this debate is on whether you believe that the challenges you face are a consequence of you or somebody else's action, or whether you believe that there is a predetermined outcome and each challenge is a step towards that goal. Now, this is a narrative, so it means that the stakeholders to be considered are those who buy into the narrative in the first place. So these are likely to be two stakeholders. The first one, teenagers or younger people. Two things are that. A, they are exposed to it on social media and they look for hope because they want to believe that they will have a good future. And B, these are crucial years where each one of your action can determine your future. Therefore, we believe the importance of agency should be highlighted. And then second stakeholder are the people who are going through hard times, even on this thing. So firstly, these are the people who are likely to look for support and especially to look for a scapegoat for their problems. So it is much easier to say, it was always in the plan for me to lose my job, rather than I lost my job because of my mistakes. And then B, it is not random that this narrative is predominant in underdeveloped areas, and it is promoted by religion as well. So people who face difficulties, choices seek external validation. And then thirdly, the narrative comes with societal expectation, because if everything happens for a reason, everything has a positive side to it. Therefore, you should make the best out of any situation and perceive it as an opportunity. So at the end of this round, we will prove that this narrative has the opposite effect and ends up harming the stakeholders involved on 3 levels. The first one is accountability, the second one is false positivity, and the third one, which is going to be presented by our second speaker, is the willingness to accept bad situation. Now, if side opposition doesn't have any POIs, I will move on to the first argumentations. Okay, so first argumentation on the lack of accountability. So, panel, when people adopt the narrative that outcomes are predetermined or meant to happen, they externalize responsibility. So we tell you that this means that responsibility for those events shifts away from the people or systems that cause them. So instead of identifying human decisions, the narrative encourages people to attribute outcomes to a greater plan, whether that is fate or else. Now, the third mechanism is that if everything is predetermined by a plan, this means that my actions are quite irrelevant, because regardless of what I do, the outcome is already set. Now, panel, this creates three dynamics. The first one is that there is generally less value to agency, because remember how in framework we told you that this narrative is likely to impact people who are in crucial times of their lives, because we tell you that this narrative ends up harming them the moment they are disencouraged from actively taking accountability and incentivized to externalize accountability. Then second, there is less scrutiny, because whether it's on a personal level or institutional level, we tell you that logically the mindset discourages reflection on personal mistakes or choices, because individuals perceive failures or harms as fated rather than the result of their own actions. And then third, finally, society becomes more focused on finding meaning after harm rather than investigating who caused the harm and how to preventing. So, panel, what are the impacts on this? Firstly, we tell you that on a personal level, that is the personal growth is hindered, because two things on that. Firstly, imagine a student fails an exam and tells themselves, I failed because it was meant to happen. Or by doing that, they are less likely to review their study habits, seek tutoring, or practice more effectively. So over time, their performance stagnates. Then second, this means that there are multiple missed opportunities for learning and improving. So then second impact on society, because a culture develops where errors are normalized and people fail to innovate or improve, reducing collective competence. And then finally, there's also a wider implication, because we tell you that by discouraging self-improvement, the narrative actively harms both personal fulfillment and societal progress. But panel, secondly, we tell you that there is a much greater impact to this narrative which acts on an institutional level, because it is marginalized and disadvantaged communities are harmed because the narrative normalizes structural injustice by implying outcomes were meant to happen. And then regardless of whether action is then taken, this is already a big enough harm to regret this motion, because it means three things. First is that these people will feel invalidated and maybe even find fault in themselves, because if their destiny is that way, they must have done something wrong. Then second is that these people are less likely to fight against structural injustice, as it is just the way it was supposed to be per the narrative. And then finally, we tell you that there is less public pressure for reform, as accountability is shifted from institutions to destiny, and the people who are victims of this narrative are even more likely to be perceived as at fault. Because if they're still in a difficult position, it must be because they aren't reaching positively to their difficulties. Now, moving on to our second argumentation on forcing positivity. So the basis of this argument is that the narrative comes with an expectation to always react positively to bad situations. So this means, panel, that people always have to find a good aspect of what's happening to them, because the only thing that they are always being told is, don't worry, look at the bright side of it. Oh, don't worry, everything happens for a reason. But we tell you that when society repeatedly tells people that negative events must have a hidden purpose or a positive outcome, individuals feel pressure to reinterpret their suffering as meaningful or beneficial. So this creates several dynamics. The first one is that people feel that expressing grief or anger is socially unacceptable, because they are expected to see the positive side. And then second, we tell you that individuals are pushed to find lessons or benefits in traumatic events before they have processed their pain. Now, before moving on to the third point, I will take the point.
Thank you. I would like to say, based on what you are saying, don't you think that if everything has a cause and everything has an effect, why would that bring out positivity necessarily? Like, I'm going to rephrase what I said. If everything happens for a cause and if everything happens for a cause and for a reason, don't you think that that doesn't necessarily bring out positivity? It just said that there's a positive and a negative outcome.
Yeah, we've already told you this. I mean, we've already told you this because society has makes people to put on these kind of masks, because they have to accept everything and they have to take everything as positive. Now, again, third point, the honest expression of the emotions you're feeling is disencouraging, because importantly, this narrative has become so common that even family members and friends mention it all the time when they try to help. And also because this means that the victim is likely to hear it all the time, therefore the pressure is likely to rise even more. So what are the impacts on that? First is the simple psychological harm, because you are less likely to give yourself time to grieve and to face your issues. And then second, in the long term, these unsolved problems add up. So this is bad both for the person who is likely to suffer even more and for the society, because it creates a broader problem of people with unsolved issues. And finally, third impact, it creates the perception that if I'm hurting or I'm in a bad situation, it must be because I'm not making the most of my situation, because I'm choosing not to accept destiny and therefore wasting time. So this further marginalizes victims. Vote for side proposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario.
Yeah. 8-11.
So let's go on the opposition side. And Camilla, whenever you want, it's your time to take the floor.
Thank you. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone. I'm Camilla Nappi, the first speaker of the opposition team. First of all, I would like to reflect on one definition of the emotion that struck to my team. The definition of reason itself. We found on the dictionary that reason means the cause of an event or situation, or something that provides an excuse or an explanation. I would like to go on to rebut what has been said by the first speaker of the proposition team. From what I've noticed from the first speaker of the proposition team, they've interpreted the motion in a way that the reason is something that justifies or gives an explanation and an excuse for a situation. The first speaker said that if everything happens for a reason, then we're forcing positivity. We're forcing someone to make the most out of a situation, or we're forcing someone to not feel hurt, to not endure the pain that they're going through. I would like to say that, don't you think it's actually the opposite? If we're not saying that everything happens for a reason, we're saying that nothing I do matters. Nothing I do has an effect. Nothing I do has something that it's going towards. So why are we forcing positivity while on the other hand, we're saying that if everything has an effect, then what I'm feeling, the hurt I'm going through, the pain that I'm feeling is normal. And it's because of that something that caused it inside of me. It's not just saying, thank you, I accept it.
Basically, this narrative is forcing positivity. We're not forcing it. This narrative is forcing. Please engage.
Thank you for your POI. As I was about to say, forcing positivity is not a matter of saying that everything happens for a reason. If everything happens for a reason, so it has a cause. The cause is not just saying that everything I'm feeling must be positive, that I must endure the
POI.
What?
POI.
I do not accept. So what I'm saying is, if everything happens for a reason, we're saying that there's a cause behind it. But the cause doesn't mean that there's only a positive outcome that's coming out of it. We're saying that a cause has both a negative and positive effect on the person that's enduring it. The first speaker went on to say that the stakeholders are mostly teenagers or people going through hard times, connecting it with the concept that there's a forced positivity. So my argument, which is that in science, everything happens for a reason, I would like to specify again that with a reason, we mean both an explanation of something that happens, but also a cause that makes something happen. I firmly believe that what I'm about to say with my speech is going to point out different stakeholders than what the first speaker of the proposition team pointed out. We believe that the stakeholders aren't just teenagers or people going through hard times. Everyone is a stakeholder in this situation. Everyone is going through something, and everything that people are going through is because of a cause. Also, the first speaker said that if I lose a job, then it isn't because of my mistake. It is because there must be a greater plan, something that's even higher than me, that I can't point out that the fact that I lost the job was because of my mistake. We believe that mistakes are parts of who we are, and it's just not predetermined that I'm about to do the mistake. But the mistake that I'm about to do is the cause of me losing the job. This is why we're saying that everything happens for a reason.
Joy,
I accept, thank you.
you just said that I'm predetermined to make that mistake. That takes away all importance of agency and of my own actions. Where does accountability stand on your side?
I didn't say that I was predetermined to do the mistake. I actually said that, no, I actually did. I said that I'm not predetermined to make the mistake. I'm saying that the mistake I'm doing is predetermining the fact that I'm going to lose my job. Sorry, I don't know if I misunderstood your POI. Okay, thank you. My argumentation, as I was about to say, is the fact that in science, everything happens for a reason. For example, gravity. Gravity is something that we feel the effects of every day. Earth was created with the Big Bang, as we all know. If the gravitational attraction was just a tiny bit stronger, the Earth would be collapsing on itself, and we wouldn't be here to withstand everything that the humanity. Sorry, I do not accept. And if the gravity was just a slightly bit weaker, then the Big Bang wouldn't have created stars. We wouldn't have the sun. We wouldn't be here anyway. Or, for example, if the Earth was a bit closer to the sun, our planet would be burning. And if the Earth was a bit more distant from the sun, we also wouldn't be here, because the Earth would be an ice planet, for example, like Neptune. This is why we believe that saying this specific equation that brought everything together and brought us here today is the cause of why we're here today. This is what it means to have a reason. Everything that happened, everything from the Big Bang till this very moment, is what is making us do things as we are. But we are a part of science. We aren't saying that everything I do is because of a specific thing that is predetermined. I'm part of science, so I'm responsible for my actions. My actions have a specific cause and have a specific effect on other people and other things that we are enduring. For example, physics say that the universe is deterministic. For example, Newton's apple didn't fall just by accident. It fell because of the gravitational attraction. Sorry, I hear my voice doubled from your microphone. Thank you. So you said from the first speech, it seems as if you are not putting humans as a part of science. You said that if everything happens for a reason, that what I do must be caused by something other than me, maybe another person, maybe something else. But we are a part of science. We also cause things. We also have an effect on everything that's outside of us. This is why we believe that, for example, psychology is the equivalent of physics, of what physics is to the universe. Because in psychology, we study why we have a certain behavior. I would like to finish my speech by saying that not everything that we do is caused by something else. We also cause things that are a part of our lives. This is why we believe that everything in science happens for a reason. And we ourselves are a part of science, and we also have a reason and a cause of what we do. Thank you.
Eight 29.
Thank you, Camilla. Please, Sofia, it's your time to take the floor. Whenever you want, you can go.
Just give me a minute and I'll be there. So I have a problem with the sound of the bing, so you're not going to be able to hear it. I don't know if you want me to like give a signal. I don't know. You do not need it. Okay.
Giovanna, my colleague in the panel, is going to do this, so you don't have to worry. Take care of your speech and...
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you. Okay. Okay, just give me a second. I'll be right there. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, what opposition doesn't do is to provide us a delta. They do not only not engage with our arguments, and they just provide us their arguments that I will be explaining in a second place why they do not really make sense to the motion that we're debating today. They do not engage with the delta that we have given them. The delta is about everything happens for a reason, because we know that, for example, what they have provided for us is science, and science is not exclusive on their side, and it's not even a narrative. We tell you that there is accountability on our side versus determinism that falls on their side. So hence, before starting with our third and last argument about willingness to accept bad situations, let's go and reframe for a second and rebut what opposition has so far given us. The meaning of the definition of the word reason has been multiple times challenged by the first speaker of side opposition. But the problem is that their definition of reason, which is strictly connected, for example, to the cause-effect of science, is not what we're debating today. The motion clearly talks about regretting the narrative that everything happens for a reason. Narrative is a really important word that we have to engage with in this motion, which our first speaker has done so far. And they do not engage with the meaning given to us, because science is not a narrative. A narrative could be religion, a narrative could be fate, a narrative could be something that I say, for example, the thing that we were debating today, everything happens for a reason, but science is not a narrative. Hence, their first argument basically falls down with making no sense. And they try to challenge the fact that they are not giving us positivity without even trying to engage with the second arc, telling us that not everything has a positive ingot, there's also negativity. But the point of our side is that when you say that something always happens for a reason, then there is nothing that actually is negative, and we have provided you the various bad impact that this narrative brings to our society. We provide you the lack of accountability, which brings to no efficiency and no responsibility taken on people and society that buy this narrative, and then we will give positivity. The fact that they haven't challenged it, that the people do not, first of all, suffer, they do not consider meaningful their suffering, and they cannot feel the pain. They feel that there is unsolved issues, and all of these things have a huge impact on our society, especially our first act with the lack of accountability and how things are being externalized. But before talking about this and reframing this, let's talk about their first arc. They say that in science, there is a cause effect and everything happens for a reason. And they also challenge the predeterminism thing. They do not really make sense. As we were saying before, science is not a narrative, is a fact. You cannot be here and provide me a definition and give me a whole first arc about science when that is not basically what we're debating today. And our also third speaker has tried to make them engage with our accountability, with a POI, with our accountability arguments, with saying how do they challenge this on their side, but that goes unresponded. So they do not try to say how they mitigate the impacts on their side, how they solve the issue of accountability on their side. There is no accountability on side opposition panel. Her argument is about science, as we were saying, a narrative which is not exclusive on their side, and it's not a narrative at all, so it's not the motion. And I am responsible of my problems because of science is the whole issue of their argument, which doesn't really extend for what we were saying before. So let's move on to our third and last arg and provide you how we win based on the delta of accountability versus determinism. The third arg is about willingness to accept bad situations. So we say that this narrative, the narrative of everything happens for a reason, basically reinforces the willingness to accept bad situations and people to react passively to issues which bring an overall negative impact on the society's happiness. So the background of this claim is that by framing negative events as something that are meant to happen, situations, individuals, or psychological pressure to accept hardship without actually questioning cause or seeking the solution that we were already discussing in our ergs. So this is extremely bad because especially in the society where people often face, for example, discrimination. For example, if I'm a woman and I'm let go of my, if I'm a woman and I'm let go of my job because, for example, I'm someone that is simply, or for example, I'm pregnant or something and I'm being let go of my job, I perceive this as something that was meant to happen and not something that is actually unequal and discriminating because I buy this narrative. This externalizes, as we were saying before, the problem without facing the fact that there is a problem in the system itself, which creates a system in which enduring harm is even more considered necessary rather than addressing the root problem of that brings. So before moving on, I can take the POI.
Thank you. If you're saying that we are not giving a cause, but our own definition of reason is both the explanation and the cause of something that happens, why are you saying that we're not giving a cause of everything that happens?
You're not giving a cause because your side of the house should be tackling the narrative problem. You're just talking about science. Of course, science gives basically causes and effects on everything, but it is not what we should be debating today. That is the whole issue on your side. I hope I have explained myself properly. We bring another, for example, scenario, which is, for example, a repeated flooding in a community. So if I believe in this narrative and I buy the narrative in which everything happens for a reason, they say that, for example, I do not blame the repeated flooding situation to a bad insurance, which brings harm to my community. I just say, yeah, it was something that I meant to happen. It ruined everything, but it's okay. It's going to be okay. I also buy this positive argument that we were talking about before, and externalizing the problems even furthermore without actually understanding the communities is still vulnerable and the situation is not being solved. Then this brings to huge impacts because there is not only the emotional suffering, which is also one of the important metrics of this debate, which is happiness of the people and society. Then brings to a structural problems for those who buy the narrative persist in the society. And this promotes a culture in which you react passively to the problems without actually challenging the root problem. So the fact that you are accepting bad situations brings to another issue. Without actually addressing, as we were saying before, the problem and facing it passively, you allow the society to build coping systems, and you do not allow society to build actually coping systems to the problems, and you further make it hard for people to without addressing the real issue. So this is not only efficient, but also moral. So overall, the happiness of individuals is being tackled. It is badly impacted and it reinforces the narrative's harm, where problems remain unsolved, where there is no cause, where there are positivity, and there's no accountability of the actions that are happening in the status quo. So with that being said, I'm more than proud of being proposition today. So thank you, and that's it.
A5.
Thank you, Sofia. It's time for Beatrice to take the floor. Whenever you want, Beatrice.
Okay. I'm ready, and I will start my speech in 1, 2, 3. Good evening. I'm Beatrice, the second speaker of the opposition team, and I like to about before going on with my speech, I like to about to what the proposition team said, because there's a problem in how we interpret this motion. First of all, the proposition team made us notice that we shouldn't focus so much on science because it cannot be considered a narrative. However, I believe that science is actually obviously is based on empirical data, but it is a structure. Okay, basically it's a narrative that structure observation into an evolving story to explain the natural world, and it has been used in philosophy for centuries. So we actually believe that we can base our argumentation on science, because also we have a very different interpretation of the word reason. That is, this difference has already been brought up. However, I do believe that it is fundamental, and I will explain this further with my speech, to show that actually we, while saying that reason are not only the purpose of life of people, but also the causes of our action, we are not going against emotion or misinterpreting it, but we want to show you that everything is connected. So reason, in the way we intended in this how we interpret this motion, is not only the purpose, but it's also the cause, because everything is connected by the bond of cause and effect. And I will prove to you how this shows that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Also, it has been brought up many times that by using determinism as we are, people may feel like their problems are not valued, or like that everything has to happen for a greater good, and therefore their mistakes are not even are not valued, and people think that they didn't even make a mistake because it had to happen. But that's not true. It's a bad interpretation of how we want to intend it, because we want to show to you that mistakes can be good, because everything has a purpose, and therefore even our mistakes will bring us exactly where we are meant to be. So by saying that every mistake is purposeful, we're not saying that we shouldn't take accountability for our mistakes, but we should actually feel responsible for our mistake and feel proud for our mistakes, because even our mistakes are what brings us to where we are, to accomplish a greater purpose. And the proposition team also said that we are like, people won't feel responsibilized, but actually we believe that in our society, we actually, if we think that things won't have a purpose, that things won't, that our role in our life is not great, that we don't have a purpose in life, then why would we even act? Why would we even try to change our reality, especially in a world where we have to face the fuel crisis? For example, the misogyny has been brought up. If we think that things don't happen for a purpose, then maybe we won't believe that our purpose is in fact to face the social. Yes, accept.
What do you believe our comparative is? So when you say that you prefer to be on your side, what do you compare it to?
I think that you're saying that, basically, we are stating that everything happens because of a purpose, and everything is caused. So we are exactly where we're meant to be, because even our mistakes, everything in our lives will lead to us to a certain point because of a chain of cause-effect relationship. But everything has a purpose, and we are exactly where we're meant to be. Meanwhile, you're saying that if we reason like that, we won't take accountability for our action, and we'll think that everything just happens for a greater good. And I think that's the main difference in our point of view. However, now I would like to go on with my argumentation, and which basically consists that, as I said, we are exactly where we're meant to be, because our life is basically made of a long chain of cause-effect relationship. relationship. Every choice we make has a specific cause and a specific purpose also. So basically, we want to use a metaphor, the metaphor of a crossword. A crossword only exists until we make a choice. Once you take a turn, you realize that you're only going on one road, and then the other road didn't even exist in the first place, because you were always meant to make the choice, because the choice was caused by something else. And this is specifically important. Everything, okay, is caused by something else, by a greater reason. So our choice, every one of our choices is caused by something. We're not saying that every choice is
Right.
yes.
That is literally predestination, though. Don't you realize it?
But like at the same time, we are we think that things are in a way predestined, but like it's the whole point of our our team line. But we're not saying that things are predestinated for a greater good, but just because everything is caused by something else, so the cause is what predestined that thing to happen. Because reason with me, okay, so even if you make a choice, for example, I was influenced by one of my teachers in middle school to choose a specific high school, and you will say to me, you had two choices. That's not right, because that speech was the cause that made me choose one specific school instead of another. So I was always going to make the choice. And let's say that maybe I got to the specific school and I don't like it because maybe I don't like one of the subjects. That the subject will be the choice that will make me change again. So everything is caused by another choice, and this is fundamental, because we're not going back into the whole crossroad. We have another whole crossroad in front of us, and we with new choices, new possibility, and we're taking another one on purpose. So human life, as we said, is made of this long chain of cause and relationship. I don't know what's that, sorry. So this proves that we are exactly where we're meant to be in life, because every choice that we make, okay, is caused by something else. And if I put it, as we said, we need to compare our life, for example, to to a spider web. Okay, this spider web is made of threads, and every single thread represents one of our experiences, the experiences in our life. Okay, for example, if we pull one of the thread, then the spider web will completely dissolve. And these threads are not only the positive aspect in life, these threads are also the negative things that happen to us, that we were predestined to face. You said before that we feel like forced to see the bright side of everything. We don't want to reinforce this kind of narrative. We want to show you that even bad things that happen to us are meaningful to the person that we are today, and have a purpose in our life, and will determine our ultimate goal in life. Even if they're negative, we don't have to take them as a good thing, as or see the bright side of things. We just have to realize that every choice we make was caused by something else, and will brings us exactly where we are today. And this is where we're meant to be, because if we take one thread out of this spider web that represents our lives and our world in general, this world will collapse. And therefore, we are proud to oppose motion.
8-2.
Thank you, Beatrice. Please, Giada, whenever you're ready, it's your time to take the floor.
Okay, if everyone can hear me. I hope I don't have connection problems.
Perfectly.
Wonderful. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. As a third speaker, my job tonight is not particularly easy, because I only access some content from side opposition at the end of the second speech. The first 3 speeches in this round were just a definition clash. As the third proposition, let me solve this definition clash and then engage with side opposition, regardless of which opposition you end up choosing, which obviously, in my opinion, should be the one proposition proposes. Okay, first of all, in a debate, you start from the basis that there must be a delta. Proposition proposes something, opposition proposes something else. We cannot both propose the same thing, because otherwise there's no delta, otherwise the judges cannot do their job. This is what we ask in the first speech. And this is exactly the reason why in the first speech, the first sentence that we say is that there is a neutral fact about the word. If I drop my phone will fall. If I cheat, I will be kicked out. Actions lead to consequences. This is a neutral fact about the world. Then there's a narrative, the belief that events occur because they are meant to happen or serve a greater purpose, which is something that side opposition ends up supporting anyway at the end of the second speech. But for the first speech and a half, they choose to try to stick to a different solution. The motion clearly refers to the second meaning. Mind you that this matters a lot, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. But mind you previously that this matters a lot because if opposition reduces the debate to causality, so to whether actions lead to consequences, then the debate becomes, do events have causes? Which is not a debate. It's just an observation. Obviously, events have causes. Obviously, if I drop my phone, it will fall. Obviously, if I speak, then you will hear my voice. That's just a fact. That's not a debate. They close the entire possibility to debate in the first place. This is something that loses in the round already because it leaves us no space to challenge whether there are harms to it. It's just a fact. So then why is it that their definition is simply uncharitable to our side? First of all, because of what I just stated, the statement becomes automatically true if reason just means cause. And again, this is something that we point out in the first sentence of the first speech. Secondly, they ignore, and this is the most important part, they ignore how the sentence is used on a daily basis. In first proposition, we tell you that this is something so common that when you face something difficult, your family members, your friends are likely to tell you, don't worry, everything happens for a reason. Let me give you a practical scenario to understand why our definition makes more sense. If I break up with my boyfriend and I'm hurting a lot and my friend tells me everything happens for a reason, they're not telling me that we broke up because we were fighting or having issues. They're implying that it happened because it was meant to happen, that it has a deeper purpose, that I should not suffer too much because there's a reason why I'm facing this dilemma in the first place. Therefore, they're not sticking to the fact about the word that we broke up because there was an issue in the relationship. They're telling me, don't stand there and hurt. Remember that this is happening because there's a deeper meaning, because it's meant to teach you something, because it's meant to lead you to the greater outcome that you want to achieve. This directly contradicts the definition they try to push on us and already proves that their definition is uncharitable. But then thirdly, actually, they avoid the real clash with this definition, escaping from the real debate. The real clash is how do we interpret suffering, which I will tackle later on. Finally, regardless of the definition of reason, regardless of whether you buy their dictionary definition or whether you buy the logical and daily used definition that we provide, you should vote for side proposition because the motion is about a narrative, right? So what matters the most is how people perceive this narrative. Regardless of whether the reason is the scientific fact or not, the phrase encourages people to believe that the outcome was supposed to happen. I gave you the scenario that proved it. We mechanize why in first speech people are likely to buy into this narrative because they don't like taking accountability. If I can externalize the fault for something bad that happened for me, then I'm not the perpetrator of the bad situation. It's just something that happened because of an external cause. Then I don't feel guilty. I find the scapegoat, and this makes me feel better about myself. This is a normal behavior that we find in humans all the time. And so regardless of how you interpret it, we tell you that people are likely to interpret the narrative the way we tell you and the way we view on a daily basis. And why does all of this matters? Because then the three arguments that we brought you still stand. Whereas the arguments they brought, all apart from the third that I will tackle in a second, fall on our side, because that is exactly what we are proposing. The fact that it's not because of a deeper meaning that things happen. You're allowed to suffer. You're allowed to understand what is going on. It's not true that there is always a deeper meaning to situations. Sometimes things are just the consequences of people's actions. And sometimes you have to deal with your actions and with systemic change. It's not just something that was supposed to happen. So having proved this, our side is already the winning side because it is way too late for the third opposition to come up and suddenly engage with our arguments. Having said all of this, what are the clashes in this round? The first clash is an accountability clash. The second speaker comes up, and this is where I actually start to engage with their case. The second speaker comes up and they tell us, we are exactly where we are meant to be. Everything in life will lead to an outcome. First thing I'd like to point out, this is a contradiction with the definition that they give, because they try to push this factual definition in the first place, and then they bring predestination, because if everything in life will lead to an outcome is the definition of predestination. Okay, this is literally what she said. They can try to squirrel it with the definition, but it is predestination at the end. This means that our arguments are supported by their side. What are the problems with this narrative then? A, you take away importance from agency, because I'm less likely to act if I have an outcome that will be achieved either way. If the issues that I am facing are just something that will lead me to a long-term outcome. This means that regardless of what I do, I have an outcome that is predetermined and that I will achieve. I'm less likely to act. Secondly, there's a lack of accountability, because the second speaker said that even my choices are the consequences of external choices, of external causes, pardon me. This means that I'm not responsible for my choices. There's an external cause that is making me make this choice. I'm not responsible for discriminating against someone. It's just the way I grew up. It's just the predetermined choice I made. We tell you that this is extremely bad, not only on a personal level for personal growth, but especially on when it adds up on society and it creates societal issues. But then, so it is clear on the accountability clash that side proposition is the winning side, regardless of whether it's because of lack of engagement or because of more mechanisms. Positivity clash then. They say that the cause does notation, it isn't necessarily positive or negative. Agreed. However, how you react to the problem is impacted by the narrative. We explained that the narrative tells you that there's a reason for your suffering, that there's a bigger aim and goal. Therefore, you should always make the most out of situations. But then again, we also give you three different impacts, layered impacts on this, and we get no response. So they're still standing, and the positivity clash is most important. 15 seconds on the third standing path that wins this round. We tell you that on our side, we're more likely to accept bad situations, and we win on this because we're able to flip their argument. The basis of their argument is that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Therefore, if I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, I'm less likely to seek change. The outcome is already predetermined. As I said, agency, the importance of agency is taken away. There's no exclusive reason to vote for them at the end of this round. There are 3 standing reasons to vote for side proposition. Thank you.
8:20.
Thank you, Giada. Camilla, it's your time whenever you want. Take the floor.
Thank you. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening. I'm once again Camilla Nappi, the third speaker, this time of the opposition team. I would like to rebut what has been said by the proposition team, which I believe is almost easy, because in many ways they contradicted themselves during the speeches, mostly contradicting what the first speaker, which I would argue has one of the most important parts of the debate. So the first speaker said that, and I quote, "Personal growth is hurt by believing in a greater plan." We argued that the fact that there is a cause and an effect to every action doesn't mean that we just have to take the positive outcome out of it. We believe that every cause has both a positive and negative outcome. And the fact that there is a cause to what we're feeling doesn't just mean that, okay, I'm going through this, but I'm ignoring the negative side. I'm just going to explore the positive side, because if there has to be a cause and there are going to be consequences, I can just ignore the fact that I'm hurting. We do not believe that. We believe that knowing the causes is important. It's crucial to understanding and growing what is happening to you. Then they went on and said that the third speaker said that we are just searching for a scapegoat by saying that everything happens for a reason, then contradicted her own speech by saying that it's obvious that events have causes. She said, events have causes. Obviously, we're not here to argue that. But if events have causes, then those causes are the goal of the event.
PI.
I accept.
The whole point of the narrative is that there's an outcome that you're meant to achieve, and everything that is happening to you is meant to happen. Mind you that this is something that your second speaker says. Can you please, instead of trying to say that I contradicted myself, engage with the actual meaning of my rebuttals?
Okay, thank you for your POI. So you said in your speech that everything happens for a reason is what we are saying, but you are also stating that everything events have causes. Okay, I was going to get into why you contradicted yourself. If an event has a cause, then that means that that event was, yes, it was predetermined to have that cause, but the cause of the event itself could have come from within. Then also in, I think most of the speeches you said that causes come from other things, other people that affect us. But as the second speaker of my team said, causes can come from within. You can be your own cause. You can be the cause of effects that affect your life. We're saying that we are a part of the universe. It doesn't mean that everything I do is just related to something that is external to me. I don't accept. Thank you. We aren't just saying that everything is caused by something that's outside of you. We're saying we can also be our own cause, even though the effects and causes are predetermined, but we are a part of our destiny, obviously. Then the third speaker highlighted the fact that we didn't argue against the fact that there's a lack of accountability and personal growth. But if everything has a reason, has a positive outcome, if you're saying that everything has a reason means that I have to accept the positive side of it. What your team is saying is that nothing matters, nothing happens for a reason, which means that I can just don't care about everything that happens to me because it doesn't have a reason. I don't accept. Thank you. If we're saying that nothing happens for a reason, then what I do doesn't matter because there isn't a greater plan. There isn't something outside of my actions that is going to. I don't accept. Thank you. If we're saying that what we do matters, it doesn't mean that we're just giving a scapegoat to everything that we do. We're saying that our own actions have an effect, so we have to be conscious of everything we do, every choice that we take. For example, what my team has said about the crossroad, we can't just carelessly take a path. We can't just carelessly have choices, make choices, if we aren't thinking about the consequences. What we do matters, and this is what my team has been trying to prove. Everything I do matters because it has a cause, it has a meaning, it has an effect on what the world outside of me is. Then what the other team said is that we are accepting bad situation. This was the second speaker. We are saying that we should accept bad situations instead of enduring them passively. I'm quoting the speech of the second speaker. They're saying it's better to endure consequence or bad situations passively. What they're saying contradicts the first speech. The first speech said that we're undermining, we're hurting personal growth. I accept, thank you. The second speaker was...
Okay, can you please engage with the actual things that I have said? This is not true that I have never said something like that. Please engage with the actual argument, thank you.
Well, I literally wrote it down while you were talking. I'm not sure if I wrote the exact words, but you said, what you were arguing with what I said, you said that accepting that we are saying that we should accept situations instead of enduring them passively, which, as I was going to say, contradicts the first speech, who is saying that we are hurting personal growth by saying that everything has a meaning, everything has a cause, and everything has an effect. They're saying that we are lacking accountability. The narrative is making people lack accountability. Well, we are saying that accepting bad situations doesn't mean that you just have to, okay, say, well, I'm just going to take the positive out of it. You have to be conscious of that, of the fact that that event, that bad situation was caused by something, and it's also going to cause something else within you and in the outside world. We are saying that every event, everything that happens has a cause, which you agreed on, and the cause also has a meaning. If everything happens, if I'm here to withstand this debate in itself, that means that something led me here. But that something meant to lead me here. Because if we're just taking apart a small event, in movies, we see it all the times. It might be, if we're trying to view this from a fantastic point of view, we see that when they travel back in time, a small event can cause many consequences in the present. This isn't just fantastic. We see it with the butterfly effect. When one small event happens, it's meant to have consequences. It can't just be just all a coincidence. This is what we're trying to prove. Thank you. I concluded my speech.
8:20.
Okay, Camilla, thank you. Beatrice, it's your time. Please, let's go with the reply speeches, starting from the opposition side, whenever you want.
So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So good evening, everybody. This has been a very interesting debate, and I'd like to thank the proposition team for giving us a different point of view. However, I found that we deeply disagree. They treat with their point of view on this debate. And I like to prove to you by explaining the three main point of clash that we identify why we actually believe we won this debate. So, okay, first of all, they treat narrative as a way to hide from the truth, but we have shown to you that it is the only way to actually face it. So this debate has settled into three clear clashes, as I was saying. They're about they regard growth, the definition of narrative, and personal responsibility. So, first of all, the first clash is about growth, as we said. The proposition claims that our narrative removes personal growth, but they have trapped themselves into a contradiction. They argue that we should just endure problems as a random accident. Well, we argue that seeing through cause and effect is the only way to actually learn from mistakes and not seeing them just as negative actions that but not just a random failure or a meaningless event because there is no lesson to be learned. But like, I know we're not even saying that people are just victim of their life. When we look for realism, we are looking for the cause. Our narrative turns the pain into a teacher, into a lesson, and we don't have to endure it passively. We analyze it actively. So we won this clash because we've proved that growth requires a reason to exist. Then the second clash is on what a narrative actually is, and we've discussed this topic quite a lot. Is the proposition trying to dismiss our case by saying that we are just talking about science and that a narrative is only a way to avoid an accepting fault? They are actually wrong. A narrative is exactly how we interpret facts of our life to make them useful, and they say that people use the narrative to avoid fault, but the position is true. What we're saying is true. By recognizing that things happen for a reason, actually, we recognize that our actions do have consequences. The proposition's random word is the one that avoids fault, actually, because if everything is an accident and we have to be read, then no one is ever held accountable. Our narrative forces a person to look at why, which is the first step toward change. Then this leads to our final clash. So basically is who takes the responsibility, because the proposition claims that people, if we see things to our point of view, people will blame fate instead of themselves. Again, we have flipped this logic because we show that believing in the interaction have a greater purpose actually increases your responsibility. If my life has a purpose, then my choices matter. If my life is a series of random accidents, then my choices are irrelevant. So we won this clash by proving that everything happens for a reason, and this is a call of emergency. It tells us that basically individually that our current struggle is a pivot point for future success. The proposition leaves people in a vacuum of meaning where nothing actually is truly matters. So the choice today is simple. The proposition offers a world of random accident where mistakes have no lessons and action have no purpose. Meanwhile, we offer a world where every setback is a setup for a comeback. And we have shown that our narrative promotes learning over passive endurance and that purpose over chaos. So for this reason, we must oppose. Thank you. This is the end of my speech.
Thank you, Beatrice.
5.
Please, Sofia. I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly. I hope so.
Just a second, I will start. Just. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I guess yes. Then I will start in 3, 2, 1. Panel, before giving you a clear outcome of what the debate has been about and showing you that proposition has clearly won this debate and all the clashes that were presented to us, I will just point at 2 strategic mistakes on side opposition, and then we will move on. So first of all, they try to say us that we say that we should react passively, and I want to tell you, panel, we'll never argue that we should endure problems. It just, when we say that we wanted it in our second speech, in my speech, it's because we're trying to provide to you what the narrative is more likely to do. We tell you that the argument was literally on who is more likely to accept the problems, and we literally tell you that when you endure it, you accept it. So the narratives makes you endure it, and that's one strategic mistake, key mistake from side opposition that they have mistaken. Then we tell you that on our side, our third speaker has passed 4 minutes of her time, basically telling why the definition on side opposition is just unfair and uncharitable. But on their side, we do not get any response, neither on the third speech, nor in the reply speech. Said that, let's move on to the clashes that were presented to us in this debate. The first clash that we are presented is the accountability. While on opposition side, they try to first, they multiple time contradict themselves with presenting, with firstly not giving us a clear definition, then moving to determinism and how the harms that they bring to us still persist and the burden that they want to show us does not persist. We tell you that on accountability clash, we win because we provide to you 3 arguments, but the one, especially the first one that we have brought to you, where we tell you that in a world without this narrative, the narrative, I'm held accountable for what I do. And when I'm held accountable for what I do, I can improve. I will show up. I will understand. I will do better. I will bring better impacts on the society and what the problems are. And this is key because it has been the most debated clash, and this is our path to the ballot, the first path to the ballot, because winning this clash provides us that we have won the debate. Because on side opposition, we do not get a clear understanding on how accountability, first of all, looks on their side. Their main claim is that everything happens for a reason, and I'm likely to pay attention to my actions, then I'm accountable. But the key issue, panel, here is that we point out in our third speech is that they ignore how the narrative plays out in the reality. This was a regret motion. Regardless of the meaning of the narrative, what matters is how people actually perceive it, and people perceive it as an escape boat. That is their burden. Their burden is to show us that they access their impacts, the fact that they're accountable, and they do not do us. Hence, on our side, we provide you the impacts, we provide the fact that there is accountability, and we win the first path and the most important path. Then we tell you about positivity. They tell us that there is a reason behind things, we should stay positive. They once again engage this, they try to contradict themselves. There is a determinism path. And then we move on to how we tell you that we win this clash because we tell you that there is not going to be escape. We tell you that you have to feel the feelings that you feel. You do not feel that you have to make the most out of the things, because there is a greater path, there is a greater good which things present to us, and you actually do not have to stay positive in order to engage and in order to win. Moving on to our third clash is accepting the bad situations. So on their side, there's basically no change whatsoever because of determinism, and because everything means a reason, and because of the reasons that we have told you before. The fact they do not access their burden of proving to us why they win the accountability, and why this is how do they not accept that situation and they improve. We bring you three arcs, the third one especially, and how, because we do not perceive this, because we regret this narrative, we bring overall change and overall happiness in the society. So panel, it is clear now that proposition has won, because we have achieved our burdens, our impacts. We have proven you that SAR proposition is clearly the winner of this debate. Thank you.
427.
Thank you very much, Sophia. And I will clap my hands for you. You made a really good job. It was not easy. And please give us a bunch of minutes so we can fulfill the ballot and come back. See you.
See you.